All right, guys, we're going to wrap up our presentation on viruses today. This slide is comparing viruses and cells. So the structure of viruses are just genetic material and a protein coat or capsid, whereas the cells are a lot more complex. All cells have a cell membrane and a cytoplasm. Eukaryotic cells have a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Viruses need to use these cell parts like ribosomes. They don't have any of their own. Reproduction. The next of these are listing characteristics of life. One characteristic of life is reproduction, and viruses can do it, but only in a host cell. They can't do it on their own. Without a host cell, they're just inert. Whereas cells reproduce independently, and that can be sexually or asexually. The genetic code for viruses is DNA or RNA. Most often we see it's RNA, whereas in cells it's DNA. Growth and development. All life has to grow and develop. Viruses do not. Cells do, and it says in multicellular organisms, but bacteria grow too, and when they get too big, they divide. Obtain and use energy. Viruses do not. They have the cell do all the work, and the cell does use energy. Respond to the environment. Viruses do not, whereas cells do. Change over time, like evolve. Viruses do that. So we've seen that they mutate in response to drugs or the environmental pressures, things like that, and cells do as well. So viruses have some characteristics of life, just a couple. One not listed is maintain homeostasis, which is an internal balance, like we have an internal temperature that stays constant. Viruses don't have that either. Diseases. We're going to learn about diseases in this class that viruses cause, but there's little to be done to cure a viral infection. In fact, there's no cure for any virus known to man. Antibiotics just work against bacteria. We're going to talk about those later this year too. But don't take antibiotics if you've got a virus. It's actually going to be bad for you. There are a few new drugs that have been developed that interfere with viral reproduction. These are called interferons, actually, but they only seem to slow the effect of the virus. As I said, there is no cure. So what are we going to do? Well, as we see with coronavirus, the battle against viral diseases lies in the use of vaccines. So vaccines, in the past, we'll talk about vaccines more again later. They've used a harmless variation of the virus. Like they've taken the virus and they've killed it with heat. So it can't infect you, but our immune system will see it and it will launch a response to it because they know that it's foreign. They recognize it next time they're exposed to it and they will mount a response. So when we're exposed to the real pathogen, our vaccine gave us our immunity a way to respond much faster since it's already learned to recognize the pathogen. So common viral diseases, we're going to talk about a lot of these actually this year. The flu, AIDS, hepatitis, colds, coronavirus, West Nile virus, and of course we now know coronavirus. Okay, just really quickly about viroids. They are known for their extreme simplicity and small size. They're not really viruses. They're much smaller than a virus. They're just a small circular molecule of RNA, and they have no protein coat. They're just tiny molecules of naked circular RNA. They have only been identified in plants, but they are suspected of causing some diseases in animals in which no pathogen has ever been isolated. So it could just be this tiny RNA molecule that's causing the havoc. The important lesson we learned from viroids is that a molecule can be an infectious agent and cause disease. And that leads us to prions. This is not really related to a virus, but it's so short, we'll include it here. These are disease-causing particles. They don't contain DNA or RNA. They're just protein. And they cause degenerative brain diseases such as mad cow. We don't really know how it replicates, but they think it's a misfolded form of a protein. And this misfolded protein then causes normal proteins to misfold too, causing disease. We'll talk more about these later. All right, guys, that's my 5 minutes. See you later. Bye-bye.